back to another stream. We are doing another update video on In the Beer Garden, with the biggest update being, or maybe more, maybe not an update as such, but just the fact that we are just over 8 weeks until the event actually takes place. So we're about 8 weeks and 4 days, which is like close enough to just pretty much say sort of 8 weeks to go until In the Beer Garden is due to take place. If you've not been following the previous live streams, then you'll be a little bit in the dark as to what's going on. But basically, I have jumped the gun. I have bitten the bullet, whatever you want to call it, and I have decided to start my own brand for like an event promotion, which is called In the Beer Garden. And basically, we're having a launch event on the 30th of April, and I've done countless live streams now at this point, kind of explaining everything that we've done so far, and like all the updates and how I kind of sort of got the idea. So if you want to know a little bit about how the idea came together and sort of like how In the Beer Garden like even became a thing, then watch some of the previous live streams, and I'm just going to talk more about kind of like where we're at and what my headspace is at for the event, and what the next steps are in terms of like, you know, leading up these kind of final 8 weeks until the event takes place. So last time we spoke, we were just at the point of where I was debating to cancel the DJ competition. So for those who don't know, I had a DJ who was originally going to play a set outside on the main event. And then this said DJ got in touch with me and said, look, I don't want to do the outdoor thing. I'll just spin some tunes at the after party. So I moved him onto the after party, and then basically he just pulled out altogether, and he doesn't DJ anymore, full stop. He just kind of stopped DJing. So it left me a gap of where like he would have like done a set and he would have played some music. So I came up with the idea of running a DJ competition, and basically I shared it quite a few times, and I shared it through my own personal profile, and I thought, you know what? I know quite a few DJs. There'll probably be some people that are interested in entering, and no one literally hardly really entered. There was one person that sent me a mix to my personal messages, which that wasn't even like where you were supposed to send the mix, and the mix was all right, but it wasn't brilliant, and it just wasn't, you know, the guy hadn't even recorded a new mix. It was something that he'd done quite a while ago, and he just threw it to me in my messenger basically, on the hope that I would just put him on the event, and I would go, here, look mate, you know, you might as well have this slot. And that is not the case. You know, that is not something I do. I had somebody else also get in touch about the competition, and they were going to enter, and then they didn't enter, and then they text me again, and they were like, I haven't got round to doing a mix, but you know, if you do want to book me, I'll do blah blah blah. And I just thought that's exactly not what it's about. And then there was like people that said to me like they were going to enter and they were going to like get a mix prepared for it, and then basically they just never ended up entering a mix. So I'm at the point now where I'm just probably going to cancel the DJ competition, just because like no one seems to have seen it, no one really seems to be entering, and you know, I can just put somebody on, you know, as opposed to like having all this stress. So I'm gonna probably do that. Like after the weekend, I'm gonna just like cancel the DJ competition, and then next week I'm just gonna finalize I think 2 DJs just to play on the after party, because I don't want to play on the after party myself anymore. I've decided that I'm doing a 2 hour set on the main event. The event is not about me as such, so I just want to kind of play my event sort of. Yeah, I just want to play my 2 hour set on the night, which is like the main set for me. That is like the main thing that I want to do. And then I'm happy just to let other people play the after party, and then basically anybody who may pull out or they just can't make it, or for whatever reason, like if I need to jump on, it's there. But rather than just like putting myself on, I just think that would be an absolutely stupid thing to do. So I'm probably going to do that after the weekend, just because I don't think anybody now is going to really enter that competition. And I don't know if it's like an algorithm thing, but people just don't seem to have seen it like when I shared it. And I thought if I share it like through my normal profile, I know a lot of DJs, I know people that DJ, I know people that are always like trying to get bookings. They might see it as a gig, and they might just see it as like, wow, let's do this kind of thing. So with that being said, that's probably my plan. I have got somebody in mind already, that would potentially play a set, but I'll have to like negotiate with them. I'm kind of on the hope of getting somebody to play a house set. That's kind of the vibe I'm thinking. I want somebody to potentially play like a bit of a more chilled out set, because I don't just want like all the DJs just to kind of play like Clubland and bounce. I want something that's going to be a little bit different to kind of what the other DJs are bringing. I don't want to have all these like amazing like like live singers, and then the evening just to kind of like turn into a full-on bounce night. That's kind of not the vibe that I really wanted. So I want to potentially find somebody that will play like a little bit of a house vibe. And then that should pretty much be pretty cool. And then I might just find like another person, but we'll see. I'll have to have a little bit of analysing, do a little bit of thinking, and just potentially, see sort of like where we go, and take things from there. But that's kind of where we are, sort of with the DJ competition side of things. I just feel like, I was given an opportunity, and people just didn't really see it for whatever reason. However, do not stress, because that does not mean that the event, that the event is just going to do really bad and the socials are doing really bad, because the socials are not actually doing too bad. People seem to see the posts, they like and share the posts as genuine like excite around the event itself. It's just genuinely the competition just didn't receive well or get seen by a lot of other DJs or people that wanted to enter it for whatever reason. I think some of it is because it's a little bit of a different event as well, and it's not like, you get the chance to play at this banging rave. It's more like a night where you've got to kind of like read the crowd a little bit more, and you're not just turning up to play your favourite hardcore anthems and your favourite club anthems. It's more, can you work the crowd? Can you play well-known sing-along stuff? Can you get a really good vibe going for somewhere that's not a rave? Because that's, we're not creating a rave. So I think that might have put a few people off, and I know quite a lot of DJs that will, happily spin a bounce set or a hardcore set, or they'll if they got the chance to dig through their classic hard trance, they'd love it. But, put them in a set where they've got to kind of work the crowd and play some sing-along stuff that they're not really into, then it's not really going to be their thing. So that was maybe another thing that, maybe put people off from the competition itself, but we'll see. But among the competition, the rest of the event is doing pretty fine, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So I think I did tell you in the last update that I've now got a gazebo. So originally, for people who don't know, I was going to buy a gazebo for the event because the gazebo is going to kind of work as the budget stage, if you like. I haven't really got a budget with this event to really hire a stage. This is kind of an event that I'm doing like on a sort of like cheapest budget possible to try and like bring something to the town, to try and see like if something like this in the town would work, what, you know, spending as little money as possible. Whereas I'm happy to spend some money. Like I haven't got like, you know, I haven't got like thousands to spend like, you know, you would if you were, you know, really like proper hiring a stage and a sound system and a sound guy and really proper, you know, going all out. This is more kind of like, can we get a little marquee going? Can we get some live singers? Can we get some DJs? Can we create like something on a free entry that will hopefully bring something to the town? And then if it does well, we can look at, right, well, you know, people clearly like this. Now it's time to see like where we can start trying to invest and maybe make it better and get to a point of like, where look, we are going to hire a stage and then we are going to have like full bands on and there will be a sound guy and and it might unfortunately come to that point, you know, where, you know, it's not going to please everybody, but look, there'll be an entrance fee, you know. Unfortunately, like I would love this to kind of like be as free for as long as possible. I like the idea that it's a free entry thing and it's a good thing for the town. However, if we do want to get to that stage of like, well, look, you know, we want to hire a stage, we want to start putting some like bigger acts on where, you know, we're thinking of like a full band and you've got a full back line coming in, then unfortunately we are going to have to go down the route of, well, listen, look, are we gonna have to start charging to let people in? But that is a very, in the future. We've got to kind of see how this event is going to go down first. And we've got to see like how this event is obviously going to work first. That is obviously like the main thing that we need to do. And that is kind of where we are at the moment, sort of with that. But anyway, essentially, I was going to buy a gazebo, and then I kind of thought to myself, well, I'm going to buy a gazebo, I'm going to use it for the event, which will probably be, in hindsight, it'll be about 2 to 3 days, because I'll probably set it up the day before, and then I'll probably use it on the day, and then it'll get taken down the day after. So it would roughly get used about 3 days, and then it would like literally just be a case of, right, well, where am I going to store it? Where am I going to put it? That kind of thing. So I thought about going down the route of, well, like, you know, there's companies where you can hire them. And, you know, like, let's hire a gazebo. And then I thought, well, am I really, you know, like what am I going to be looking at if I hire a gazebo, truthfully? Like, am I going to be paying just as much to hire one as it would actually cost just to buy one? So the only other thing I could think of was just to have a ask about online to see if somebody, like, had a gazebo that they'd be just willing to lend me. Like, people get them for the garden sometimes and they don't use them. And, you know, it doesn't have to be the most fanciest gazebo on planet Earth. It just has to be there. It has to just be strong enough to do its job. And then it just basically has to be the stage. You know, we can put music equipment inside of it. We can have the entrance bit open, where singers are going to sing live, that kind of thing. And then basically, like, you know, that's all it really had to do. So I just thought somebody might have one that they could obviously, like, you know, maybe just lend out, or they don't use it. So I put a thing on Facebook, and surely enough, somebody came forward and said, look, I've got a gazebo, I don't use it. Someone even put in the comments, like, I'm selling one for 50 quid. And I was like, I'm not being funny, mate. Like, like I looked at it and it didn't have any sides to it, and then I just thought, look, I can buy one online for like 80 quid brand new that would have sides. It might not be the strongest one, but I could literally do that. I'm not going to spend 50 quid on a second hand one, unfortunately, not when it don't come with any sides, you know. If I wouldn't buy second hand, I would have bought a new one if I was gonna buy. Anyway, so a woman come forward, and then something happened, and like I should have just like asked it in the first place, but the landlady of the venues where I'm putting the event on, basically she has a gazebo and like she's willing like for me to like use the gazebo because it's obviously for the event, and I just thought like, why did I not just ask that? Like, you know, why did I not just ask if like she had a gazebo? But I just thought like, you know, she's done enough really already by like allowing me to put the event on and then like giving me like the venue. So like, you know, like I haven't had to pay a venue hire, you know, like this is something that, you know, we're coming together to do something quite cool, and then basically like she's not charged me for the venue hire. So like that was kind of like, I thought that was enough without me then saying like, oh, I don't suppose you have a gazebo as well we can use. It's like I wanted to kind of like do a lot of the work and like bring this thing in to kind of like show her a little bit of what I can actually do, and what I've kind of learned doing this youth job, and try and bring something for the town. And I just thought if I was professional as more or less everything and had everything sort of, but anyway, you know, she's all happy, she's all cool, and she has a gazebo, which we're really, I'm excited that we can use that. So, the other person that did have one, as much as I was very grateful that she offered me to lend it, I would have had to have like travelled to pick it up. I would have had to have like travelled to take it back. She had to dig out of a shed. She needed to have a look at it and see what it was like, and she hadn't used it before, and yeah, it was a little bit awkward, but it would have, you know, still saved me from buying one and then thinking like after the event, well, you know, where am I going to store this? So that was kind of the thing really, but luckily like we're sorted now because the pub has a gazebo that I can now use, which is really good. So what's next? What's kind of like, you know, we're kind of 8 weeks to go. What are we going to be doing sort of over the sort of like next sort of 8 weeks in terms of the event? Well, we're going to be hammering the social media promotion. That is something I want to do. We're not going away. We're not going anywhere. People are going to know that you know, this is coming. People are going to know, you know, every time a post goes out, I mention, you get that notification, like in the beer garden has mentioned you and other followers in a comment, you know, that is going to happen. So like, you know, the post is basically highlighted for everybody that follows the page to see it. You know, I share the post into people's inboxes. I share it to my own profile. I share it pretty much everywhere. I share it into groups. I sign into some of my other pages and share it through there as well, just to try and get that you know, the social media promotion has been really strong for me. I've really worked on this, but this is because I felt the idea, and this is something that you know, I've really enjoyed doing this, and I've really felt excited about this, and like it's something that still excites me now. I don't sit here now and think like I wish I hadn't started it, because I actually am really excited to see where this goes and to see what happens, and if we can make a really good, enjoyable day. And my goal with this, like I told myself from the beginning, if I could create an atmosphere where there's a good few people in the beer garden and they're enjoying the day, they're enjoying the singers, they're having a few drinks, they're having a good time, they're singing, they're dancing, they're applauding the singers that have been on, and they genuinely enjoy themselves, then I will be happy. I'm not expecting the beer garden to get absolutely rammed. I'm not expecting it to, I'm not expecting it to be filled with hundreds of people where, it's filled from wall to wall, because it's a first event. Again, it's a new thing. And, also a lot of people plan things to do on bank holidays, or people already have arrangements. We did advertise this quite early. The interest has been really good. I do know of a lot of people that are coming. The beer garden is fairly big, but once there is a good few people in there, it will look like a decent vibe. And if it looks like that, and we do quite well, and the singers do well, and we've created a really magical day, I will be happy. I will honestly be so pleased, and I will be absolutely over the moon by what goes down if we have that vibe of a good few people enjoying the vibe and just enjoying the atmosphere of what's to go down within the beer garden. So what is to come within the 8 weeks? Then we've got 8 weeks to go. So like I said, hammering the social media, we're going to absolutely do that. What I want to do is try and get an advert in the local Driffield newspaper. That is one thing that I would like to do. I don't know how I'd go about doing that, because the thing is, I don't want it to be an advert. So I don't want it to be one of those builder puts his building business in the advert section of the paper. That's not what I want it to be. I kind of wanted it to be a little bit more of a look, there's a story, there's a new small music festival coming to Driffield kind of thing. And then Ashley Noble, as Ashley Noble is bringing a music festival called In the Beer Garden, just a small little story into the paper that a few people could read, because not everybody uses Facebook, not everybody sees social media. And there'll be a few people that won't necessarily go out that often, or they won't necessarily go to pubs, so they won't maybe go in the Book or the Tiger and see it advertised as such. However, they will, maybe get the local paper, and then they'll see it and they'll think, oh, this looks quite different. I might come out to this. Or some people might recognise who I am, they might know some of my family, or whatever the situation may be, and they might decide that they want to come. So I want to kind of get some form of story in the paper. I'm not expecting it to be like front page, but it would be nice to have something in there, maybe like an online news article, just to say that this is coming. That would be a pretty cool thing to do. I don't know how much that would cost, if there would be a cost to do that. I know there is obviously a cost to put an advert in the newspaper. I just kind of want more a one-off story for 1 week. So 1 week's edition of the newspaper has this story in. However, we will just have to see. I need to work out who and how I contact people about that, because I don't know if I can just message the newspaper's Facebook page and get a response, or if I'll have to get somebody's email address within who works in the papers. There was somebody from the paper who got in touch when we had a death in the family about putting the death in the newspaper. I can't now for the life of me remember who that was. So I couldn't I'd have to scroll for God knows how long on Messenger just to find that person. That'd be really, really difficult to do. So I wouldn't necessarily know who that person is. I'd know it if I saw it, but I couldn't just go on Facebook and search him up and find him. I think it was a he. I don't know if it was a Jerry or something, or if it was a girl, it was a Jenny, but I think, I can't fully remember. But I'll do a bit of digging. and have a little look into how it's done, and then see if I can contact them. I'm thinking somewhere when there's around like 5 weeks to go, if I could have like the advert in that week's edition of the newspaper, and then I do need to go around more like takeaways and stuff like that, and see if I can like put some more like posters and stuff up in the takeaways and stuff like that. That is another thing that I need to do. Another thing I need to do as well is I need to buy the extension leads. So I need to buy basically a long 25-meter cable that is going to go from where we actually get power in the beer garden to where we're going to set up the gazebo, essentially. And I want it to be 25 metres because I just literally want to make sure that we've got enough room and that we're not going to be pulling on the cable. And I also need to make sure that I can do it in a manner that people are not going to trip over the wire as well, which I can run it down the side of a wall, which will probably be like the best place of like where it'll work. And then basically I just need to like, see how we can set up the power and that kind of thing, and that should be like really, really cool in that sense. Yeah, and then sort of from there on, it'll just be a case of like nearer the time, we'll be obviously like setting everything up, setting the stage up, setting the sound up, which is going to be really, really cool, and getting everything ready, and doing everything that we obviously need to do in order to get things in the right manner, and deciding like exactly where everything's gonna go to the point. I want to make a social like a picture of. I did it ages ago, a map of like how the festival layout would look, and there was just I wasn't happy with everything that was on the map. So they kind of they did this weird it did this weird thing where it kind of had like the live music stage, and then where I wanted the dance floor to be, it kind of put like it put DJ booth, and then it kind of put the dance floor somewhere else, and I thought like no, the DJ booth, like the or whatever, is just where the live music stage is. So that is like I just want live music stage, and then dance floor, and then like seating area, and then obviously like where you go to obviously get your drinks and that. Do I play darts? Yes and no. So I don't play darts as in like I'm not in a darts team. I don't like play darts regular. However, like I do like darts, and like I do like if I'm in a pub or something and somebody says, "Oh, do you want a game of darts?" I'll have a game of darts. I watch darts on telly. I'm into darts in that sense, but I don't play it professionally. I'm not in any teams. I don't there isn't a set day where I play it like once a week every week. So yeah, do I play indoor bowling? I don't. Listen, I don't play any sports. So before we go through every single sport, I don't play sports. I don't play sports. I DJ, I write music, I put events on. I don't play any sports. I don't do anything. I don't do cricket, football, tennis. I don't do it. Why don't I do it? I'm just not really into sports. So, what day is my bin day? This is going to sound stupid at first, right? But I actually don't know. So, I live in a block of flats, and we have a big bin downstairs. It's a massive, we've got about 3 massive dumpsters downstairs. And basically, we just take our rubbish down to that big bin, and it gets emptied. Like we don't have different coloured bins. We just have like one big dumpster bin, and basically like in our flats we have like smaller bins, like a kitchen bin, and basically we just fill like a bin bag full of like kitchen, like a basically full of like rubbish. So, yeah. Okay, this is getting. What would I do if I heard a massive bang outside? If I heard a massive bang outside, it depends like what the bang is. Like, it depends on like from when I hear that bang, what do I think that bang is? That's what would go through my mind. So like, for example, like if it sounded like very much like a gunshot, then I would probably like I'd probably like not go outside just for my own safety. But what I would do is I would probably like ring 999. If I heard a bang where I thought like, like somebody's like ran into something with a car, then I'd like probably go downstairs and see if it's all right, or if everybody's all right. Like atmospheric bang. I'm not really sure, to be honest. Like, it's one of them because I've not been in that situation before. So, like, it's one of those where I'd probably, like, act within the moment and I probably couldn't tell you. What would you do in that moment? Let's throw it, like, let's throw the question back to you. Like, what would you do in that moment? Because I don't actually really know what I'd do. In terms of a like atmospheric bang, I don't know. Like I say, like bang in general, like I'd just try and like work, like if I could kind of get a vibe from what I heard of like, what the bang is, then I'd be able to act, I suppose. But like, I've heard bangs before where they've been like a little bit further in. I've just thought, oh, I wonder what that is. But like, if it's something that doesn't really necessarily like concern or affect me as such, then I'm probably just not gonna get involved. That's probably the truth. So, am I from Leeds? I'm not from Leeds. No, never have been. Been to Leeds, but I don't live there. Know someone that does live there, and know somebody that did live there. And do I know anybody? Yeah, no. I know a couple of venues, like nightclubs in Leeds. I've DJ'd in Leeds before. Not from Bolton. Definitely not. Nowhere near Bolton. I am actually closer to Leeds than I am to Bolton. You know, like I'm I'm that close to Leeds, like, and when I say that close, like I'm not mega close, but I'm close enough that where I live, when you get to like the outskirts of where I live and you're leaving where I live, there is signposts for Leeds, but I'm not like mega close to it. I'm not Bradford, I'm not Wakefield, I'm not Huddersfield, I'm not anywhere like that. I'm not that close to it, but I'm not like a million miles away from it either. I'm not from Donny either. Should we keep guessing? See if you can actually get it. Because I'm not Wakefield, I'm not Halifax. Halifax is actually closer to Bolton than it is and I said like Halifax is closer to Bolton from Leeds than I actually am. And I said I'm not from Bradford either. So where I am, without telling you where I am, so let me go to Google. So, just to give you a bit of an idea. Not Castleford, not Todmorden, although I went there last year for the first time, not Leicester. So I am, without giving too much away, I'm about 63 miles away from Leeds. That's how far away I am from it. The reason why where I live it's signposted on the outskirts is because where I live on the outskirts is basically a road that goes to the motorway. Because it goes to the motorway, like it heads towards Leeds. So let's keep seeing. Yes, you've got it. Hull. There you go. We've got it. Someone finally got it. It's Hull. Yes, the guy above, he got it. It's Hull. That is where I live. It's Hull. And do you watch the trailer? I don't really listen. I don't really watch a lot of TV. I don't watch a lot of shows. Unfortunately, I'm not really that into them. I watch YouTube more than anything. I'm into like renovation programs and or should I say like renovation videos or like podcasts or yeah, I'll just like randomly browse YouTube essentially. That's pretty much like what I do. So what's Hull famous for? Hull is famous for quite a lot of things, actually. One of the things it's famous for is a thing called chip spice. A lot of people, like outside of Hull, don't know what chip spice is. If you look at the colour of chip spice, it looks very similar to piri piri salt, apart from it's not spicy. And it's just like a seasoning that you put on your chips. And that is like one thing that it's famous for. Hull is also famous for a fish patty. So at a fish and chip shop, you can order a patty, and it's not a burger. So like one of my friends who lives in Hull, he went down to Leicester and he asked for a patty in the chippy, and they actually gave him a burger. So like it's different to that. It's hard to describe what it is, but I guess like one way to describe it is it is kind of like it is a little bit like a burger shape, but it's like fish and not a burger. That's the only way I can describe it. Hull is also famous for having one of the biggest travelling fun fairs. Alongside the Nottingham Goose Fair, we've got the Hull Fair that comes every year, which is really cool. Are there any notable people from Hull? Yeah, so the guy who wrote Benidorm, Darren Litton, he is originally from Hull, who wrote the ITV series Benidorm. Also, one of the actors that plays in Benidorm, who played Michael Garvey, he is also from Hull. We've got Maureen Lipman, who obviously plays plays in Coronation Street. I forget her name. She is also from Hull as well. And then we've got there was a South Block house and King Henry VIII way back in the day. Lived in the South Block house for a little while before it was knocked down. There's loads, to be fair. There's Fatboy Slim. was originally from Hull. He was in a group called the Housemartins before he moved on into being a band, being a Fatboy Slim electronic DJ. So the bloke out of League of Gentlemen. There's quite a lot of famous people. To be completely truthful. Hull is, I would say Hull is a very behind city. So like a lot of like other cities, they'll get like new things first and then we'll kind of get it like down the line. So like in places like Manchester and Leicester and all them, Liverpool, like they've all had like you've all had electric buses for a little while now. We have only just recently started getting electric buses, and then like the same with a lot of food chains. You'll have these like new food chains that open up in like Liverpool, Manchester, Leicester, London. God knows, and then like a few years down the line, one will eventually open in Hull. So like Pepe's Piri Piri, one of my favourite chicken places, one of my favourite fast food places to eat. I used to go to one in Manchester for quite a few years, and then like I've been to ones in like Leeds and Bradford, and then suddenly like after all these years, we finally got one in Hull, and now we're getting the second one in Hull. So, why did they call it Hull? Where does that come from? That is something that I'm. Do you know what? I actually don't know. I mean, we're actually called Kingston upon Hull, but what it says here is the name Hull has three primary origins. So it is Primate English city river name, surname divided from Old English word for hill, or vocabulary meaning altogether seat of Hull. So the city and river. So we go as Kingston upon Hull. That's where our name is. So the surname Hull has two historical roots. It's just it's to do with like Old English, like, and then like the city and river is like what the Kingston upon is basically, It's just like, weird. But, I mean, I've only lived in Hull for 5 years. I used to live in a little town called Driffield, which is about 21 miles away from Hull. So, although, like, I've only lived in Hull for 5 years, like, I used to come all the time before I lived here. I knew Hull like before I lived here, but before I lived here, I obviously like only knew like the city centre and stuff. Whereas now like I can tell you like way more streets in Hull, because I've obviously like with living here, I've explored more of Hull that I wouldn't have known about like if I hadn't moved here, But anyway, we're babbling on. I'm going to cut this stream here because it's getting late. And I'm going to get myself sorted for bed. Make sure to like, make sure to comment, share, and we'll catch you soon. You must go to the gym. Listen, I am not going to the gym, right? I don't like the gym. Listen, I'll tell you this now, right? I'll tell you my before we leave, right? I'll tell you my thought process, right? So, first off, I'll tell you pretty much as it is now. I am who I am, right? I am the person who I am. The person I was born as, the person I was born to be, right? A lot of people go to the gym, like, all right, there's people that just genuinely want to live like a healthy life, right? You want to do that, that's fair enough. Listen, it's not for me. But there's people that go to the gym, right? And they want to change who they are, and they're not happy with the way they look, and they're not happy with, and they want to get buffed up, right? I don't want to get buffed up. I don't care, right? I don't want to look like I don't want to look like somebody that can knock out 10 men, and I don't want to walk around like somebody who can knock out 10 men, and I don't want to boast about being able to knock out 10 men, because that's not who I am, right? And second of all, getting healthy, right? I'm not asked about getting healthy, right? Because there's people out there, right, that they'll force themselves to eat meals that they don't really want to eat, but they know that the meal's supposedly good for them because they've been told it's part of your five a day, or you've been told that, listen, if you want to be healthy, you need to eat this food, right? And, all right, yeah, there's people out there that can genuinely say, like, they love a salad, right? They love eating a healthy salad, right? But then there's people out there that will say, like, they eat it just because they know it's good for them, right? And I personally, right, I'm not really a big fan of salads and healthy food, right? I would, and I'll be honest, right? I'd much rather sit there and have a full English breakfast any day of the week, right? If somebody said to me, like, tomorrow for work, you can take a salad in a pack up, or you can go out for dinner and go to a fried chicken shop and get your dinner at the fried chicken shop. I'd rather get my dinner at the fried chicken shop. And the thing about it is, right, is I want to live life to be happy. I want to enjoy life to be happy. I want to live life to the fullest that I can live life, right? But I want life to be fun. I want to look back on life and enjoy myself. I don't want to look back on life, right, and go, do you know what? I made it to 90 years old, right? I'm 90 years old and I'm still here, and I'm sat in an armchair and I'm at 90 years old, right? And but I've had all these horrible years of eating food that I don't really want to eat, putting myself through that strain of eating something that I don't want to eat, having meals and not looking forward to having the meal, but eating them because I think, oh, this is going to do me good. When, I don't know, I might live to 62 or I might live to 69, right? And I might not live as long as, a lot of my mates would do, or, the truth is, right, the truth is, right, and I guess, like, the moral of the story and the matter of what I'm trying to say deep down is that I don't really care when I die, truthfully, right? All I'm bothered about is that up until that point that I do die, I've had a good life. I've enjoyed myself. Not had a life of putting myself through stress and strain and things that I didn't want to do and things that I didn't enjoy doing. And that is pretty much where the story lies. So, like, what I'm saying is like, I would much rather die at 69 and know that I've had an enjoyable life and ate loads of food that I enjoyed, and I was happy in life, genuinely. Like, in life, a genuinely happy person, having a meal at tea time that I enjoyed, rather than having something at tea time that I just thought, you know what, I don't like this, but I'm eating it because I've been told that it's good for me and I need to eat it, as opposed to, like I say, living to 90 and having all that, and that is the moral of, like, where it is for me. So, like, going back to the, like, you need to go to the gym, like, I'm not really asked. I'm happy with the man that I am. I don't want to be more buffed up. I don't want to get in shape. I don't need to be fit for anything because, I am happy at the person that I am. I'm happy with the man I am. And I know, like, there's people out there thinking, but in years' time you could start having health issues. Listen, there's people that eat healthy. There's people that do everything by the book, right? They'll have 5 a days. They'll have a week of, like, oh, let's not have a takeaway this week because it's bad for you, right? They can still get health issues just as easy as I can get a health issue. And I've gone, 28 years now. And listen, I don't eat healthy. There's a lot of food I don't like. There's a lot of food I won't try. There's a lot of food I won't entertain. I am all for trying things. Do not get me wrong, right? If there's something out there and I think, do you know what? I am going to give it a try just to see if I like it. I'll do it. If I don't like something, I won't eat it. So one thing I can't stand is peas. Mushy peas, garden peas. I hate them, right? And when I was quite younger, one of my dad's ex-girlfriends and my dad at the time, they wanted me to eat vegetables, right? I didn't really like them. I didn't really want it. They used to force me to eat them, and I had to eat peas, and I hated them. And even though I hated them, and they used to make me feel sick. They used to make me gip. I didn't like them. I didn't like the taste of them. I didn't like the feel of them. I wasn't happy. I did not like them. I was forced to eat them. And that was another big factor of what put me off. And I just thought, now I'm an adult, no one is going to tell me what I can and can't eat. If I want to eat something, or I don't want to eat something that you think I should eat, like, that is a you problem, not me. And I will not be bullied into eating something that I don't want to eat. So that was kind of where it sort of spiraled, because like I was a very fussy eater as a kid, very bad. There was a lot of things, like compared to what I was as a kid, I am like a different person now. Like as a kid, like I wouldn't even eat cereal. That's how bad it was. Now I do eat cereal, I was very limited to what I would eat. Like on a fry up, right? I wouldn't touch a hash brown, a black pudding. I wouldn't touch an egg. I'd just literally have like bacon, sausage and fried bread. And sometimes I wouldn't even have a bacon. I'd just have sausage and fried bread. Now I will literally have like bacon, sausage, egg, hash brown, black pudding. The only things I won't really have is like beans and tomatoes. And now, like I say, I'll eat things like cereal. Now I do like some spicy food and stuff. So I have changed a lot, but I'm still very much like, if there's something I don't like, I will not eat it. And that is as simple and as far as it goes. If I've tried something in the past, like I've had peas before, I don't like them, I'm not going to eat them. And that is the end of the story. You will not get me to, I don't like them, I've tried them, you will not get me to eat them. And it's the same with other things. Like I've tried carrots, I've tried Brussels sprouts before. I'm not a big fan of them. Listen, if I had to eat them, I would eat them over peas, carrots. But again, no one's forcing me to eat them, so I'm not gonna. I don't like them, and that is pretty much the moral of the story. Like, if I went tomorrow, at least I've been happy and I've eaten food that I've enjoyed, rather than eating something I don't like, just for the sake of I might last a few years longer. And that is genuinely like the way I view life. And if people are not happy with that, then I've literally got 2 words for you. F you. Literally, because it's not your life, it's mine. You want to go dieting and go jogging every day and knacker yourself out at the gym just because somebody says like it's good for you, you need to do this, on the hope that you're going to miraculously live a few extra years, then you go ahead and be that person. More fool you. That's the way I see it. Like, and it's all part of, I think it's all part of like the system, like where we're programmed and we're told that these things are good for you and these things are bad for you. And how do we really truly know that the things that they're saying are good for you are actually good for you? There you go. Anyway, I'm going to cut from this live. Make sure to like, make sure to comment, share, all of that good stuff. And we'll see you soon.